I'm going to preface this video with a disclaimer. The purpose of this video is not to bash anyone who likes Sotus or any of the actors affiliated with it. Rather, what I'm trying to do here today is provide a relatively objective look at the series and the recent controversy surrounding it. In short, I'm attempting to answer the question, is Sotus problematic? However, the title of this video is kind of misleading. I can't control whether anyone watches this show or not, even if it is super problematic. And I'm not going to tell you that you're a horrible person if you do enjoy this show. You can most certainly disagree with anything I say in this video, because at the end of the day, my criticisms of Sotus are rooted in my own personal beliefs and experiences that may be different from yours. With all that being said, in order to give you guys a frame of reference, here's a brief summary of my thoughts on Sotus and Sotus S. Let me remind you that these criticisms are purely my own opinion and not objective in any way, and you're free to disagree with me. I do not have a deep emotional connection to the Sotus series like I know many people do. On my first viewing of the series in 2017, I enjoyed it but wasn't particularly crazy about it. However, I do to some extent understand why so many people are connected to this show. Sotus was the first Thai drama many people ever encountered. Additionally, Kongpop and Artit's relationship is relatively unproblematic, I'll get to that later, compared to couples in similar shows. And as of now, watching Sotus is a nostalgia trip for any longtime fans, a pleasant distraction from real-world problems. I, too, decided to rewatch the Sotus series before deciding to make this video, and while I did enjoy it on my first viewing, my second examination of the show made me realize that there were some significant issues with Sotus, production and story-wise. The production quality hasn't aged particularly well, although I'll let that slide because this series aired in 2016, a time when GMMTV wasn't exactly rolling in money. My biggest qualm with Sotus the series is its pacing. About half of the episodes are about absolutely nothing, and really don't progress the plot in any meaningful way. Now, I understand that slow pacing isn't always a bad thing, especially when the show is slice of life, but this was hard to watch, at least for me. I found myself skipping through 20-minute portions of this show, hoping that anything would happen. My second biggest problem with this series is the dynamic Artit and Kongpop have for the majority of the show. Artit initially is a bully. Let's make no bones about it. He forces a female junior into giving his friend group her number in order to pass junior initiation. He forces Kongpop to announce to the entire cafeteria that he's gay for laughs. I get that his character develops, especially in Sotus S, but I just found it difficult to believe that Kongpop fell in love with Artit at first sight when all of their interactions in the first half of the series are negative. Artit is a bully, and Kongpop for the majority of Sotus is his victim. A possible justification of Artit's abusive behavior is his involvement in the hazing system. While I think this is a weak argument, I'll get to that later in the video. Sotus S improves on its predecessor in many ways. For example, I found Artit's character much more likable. The production quality is up to par with any other series released that year, and overall, the series was much more put together than Sotus. I still think the pacing is an issue, as I could skip entire episodes and the plot would remain stagnant. However, I found the ending satisfying and the relationships much more compelling. So, too long didn't watch. My opinion on Sotus is mostly indifference, maybe leaning towards negative. Again, I'm going to try my hardest not to let personal bias affect this video. I mentioned earlier that many fans of the show justify Artit's behavior in Sotus by referring to his position as a head hazer. But what does that entail exactly? What is Sotus? I, like many viewers, had no idea what Sotus was before watching this show, so here's a simplified explanation of the Sotus system. Sotus, or in Thai, is an acronym, which stands for Seniority, Order, Tradition, Unity, and Spirit. As the name implies, Sotus is a months-long initiation process in which junior students are taught discipline by their seniors. This initiation process has activities ranging from harmless hijinks to potentially dangerous and humiliating rituals. As you may have guessed by now, this system has its downfalls, often leading to blatant abuses of power. On countless occasions, this disciplinary system has permitted senior students, or hazers, to act outright sadistically. Some extreme examples include 2014. A 16-year-old boy with leukemia has drowned in a beach south of Bangkok during an initiation ceremony. 2018. A group of students of a university in Bangkok beat a young man until his spleen burst. And sexual harassment isn't off limits either. Female students may be ordered to kiss wooden phalluses that serve as good luck charms in Thailand. Male students may have hot wax stripped onto their exposed genitals, potentially leaving them with permanent scars. And no, of course not every university has incidents like this. For many freshmen, Sotus is simply a way to break the ice and get to know their upperclassmen. However, many Thai students see these often humiliating and even brutal traditions as outdated. Many believe that the concept of Sotus violates individual rights and sets a bad example for Thai culture. An anti-Sotus activist says that Sotus, quote, is a reflection of wider problems within the Thai society and is based on the deep hierarchies that exist in Thailand. Sotus teaches students to be submissive and only serves to undermine their critical spirit and creativity. And although Sotus was created to instill values integral to Thai culture, such as respecting elders and cooperation, I'd have to agree that forcing students to endure public humiliation and sometimes even physical violence is a cause for concern. And by applying these real-life implications of the Sotus system to Sotus the series is how things get messy. I mentioned earlier that I disliked Artit's character for most of Sotus, mainly because of the way he treated Kongpop and the other freshmen. In many ways, Artit and the other seniors' behavior reflects the negative aspects of the Sotus system. Forcing a female student to disclose her personal information and making Kongpop tell the entire grade he likes men for laughs isn't discipline, it's harassment. Artit forcing students to run laps until they collapse from exhaustion, screaming at them until many are on the brink of tears, is flat out abusive. And a quick note about that scene where a freshman girl collapses from exhaustion. I know that Artit runs to help her, but what ultimately cheapens this character growth moment is what he says afterwards. If you think it's beyond your physical limit, please step out. If anything happens again, I'll let you struggle like that, and your fellow freshmen will be punished instead of you. Okay, there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, this contradicts everything Artit has said prior to this scene. He's chastised and punished the freshmen countless times for bailing on hazing activities, even if most of the time they have legitimate excuses. And given Artit's track record, even if a freshman was at the brink of collapse, Artit would just tell them to try harder. It's sort of a lose-lose situation. If you bail, you're a coward and a bad example for the school. If you pass out from exhaustion, you're a burden and you should have known better than to push yourself. I find it hard to believe that any student could actually step out if they felt unwell because of the shame and stigma attached to doing so. And I don't think I have to explain why it's bad that Artit blatantly refuses to help in future medical emergencies. Of course, that could just be a bluff to inspire the freshmen, but even then, that's just another level of cruelty. Not only is that super illegal, it also detracts from his apparent act of kindness moments before. What really bothers me the most about this specific scene is that the framing seems to imply that this is a teaching moment for the freshmen, that Artit is in fact right for refusing to help these students in an emergency, and this, unfortunately, is a recurring theme in the series. The hazers are portrayed in a positive light, even if their actions are questionable. There are a select few moments in which Artit's methods are actually criticized, but his character isn't really impacted by this. For example, the previous head hazers forced the current hazing team to punish themselves, but what changes because of this? It would have been nice if the show had gone the get a taste of your own medicine route. There would have been an opportunity for Artit to have some serious self-reflection after he was punished by his seniors and treat the freshmen better because of this. But in reality, Artit's character remains static, and the core message of the show remains the same. According to Sotus, bullying and harassment can and should be tolerated because the seniors always have good intentions. That's really it. There's no debate at all over whether the Sotus system is even ethical in the first place. And given that Sotus is a hotly debated topic in real life, this presentation of hazing in Thailand just seems a bit insensitive, to say the least. Sotus S improves slightly in handling this issue. For starters, Kongpub and the rest of the new hazing team are worlds better than the previous team. Many of the awful initiation practices from the first season are revamped to be more humane. While this isn't really addressing the problem at its source, it is a start. At the beginning of the series, I was actually really invested in where they would take Fiat's character, who openly refuses to participate in Sotus activities. I remember saying to myself, holy shit, are they actually going to address how problematic hazing is? But as the show went on, the social commentary got murkier and murkier until I really couldn't pinpoint what the show was trying to say. The hazers aren't really aggressive towards Day, but they just can't seem to understand why he doesn't want to participate in hazing activities. They just keep asking him to join, with 2 being especially persistent. And of course, Day eventually gives in and the Sotus issue completely dissolves. Day refuses to participate in Sotus not because he sees something inherently wrong with the system, but because he's an angsty kid who was kicked out of his other school or something. I honestly do not remember what happened to him, and I'm not going to rewatch the whole series. I'm sorry. So, in this way, the commentary remains surface level, and the morality of Sotus is never truly questioned. So, short summary, Sotus and Sotus S handle the issue of hazing pretty sloppily, at least in my opinion. Having a real-world issue simply be the background noise for a romance and nothing more just doesn't sit right with me. Again, this isn't me saying that all of Sotus is inherently awful. There are some positive qualities as well, such as the addition of a lesbian character and commentary on being LGBT in the workplace. But at the same time, these problematic elements shouldn't just be swept under the rug. It's possible to acknowledge a show has flaws and still enjoy it. And this brings me to my second and final issue with Sotus, the actor's behavior. I won't go too in-depth here because I don't want to get sued for defamation, but further details of this problem can be found all over the internet. You can probably find the whole story on Twitter. Anyway, I think that Krist's attitude towards the LGBT community is iffy. I think this video is the best example of his questionable behavior. In this interview with Krist and Singto, Krist was asked if he watched Singto's scenes in Friendzone, in which Singto is in a relationship with another man. Krist answers with something along the lines of, I think it's common for guys that we don't really prefer to see something like that. I just scroll to see Pili or other male-female couples instead. That comment just gets a big ol' from me. Like, I don't know this man personally, and I can't speak on his behalf, obviously, but this comment, paired with his paranoia of being called gay, sets off some warning bells. This comment insinuates that guys who enjoy gay storylines in media are somehow forsaking their own masculinity, that gay couples are inherently different from their heterosexual counterparts. And this isn't me saying that your fave is cancelled forever and must be cast into the void. No, I'm just really frustrated because these shows, despite everything, are a place I come back to feel welcome and normal. To escape a reality that more often than not ostracizes me for something I can't control. And to hear that these actors potentially contribute to this ostracization deeply saddens me. And despite everything I've said, in the end, I'm not here to pass some final judgment on Sotus and its actors. Yes, I think it's problematic to an extent, and these actors have certainly made mistakes, but I don't enjoy talking about these issues. I don't enjoy being that ranty YouTuber who nitpicks every single aspect of a show. It saps the energy out of me, honestly. The reason I wanted to make this video is because I feel like we, as a collective, need to have a conversation about how to acknowledge problems with the shows we watch and with the actors we love. All I'm asking you to do is to take a step back and realize that while a comment an actor made or an element of a show may not have hurt you specifically, it may have hurt someone else. And just because these shows and the people associated with them are flawed, doesn't mean we had to shun them until the end of time. We can encourage communication and begin to repair the damage that has been done.